Hi there and welcome to Apple World. This present circumstance with Wendy Williams is truly creeping me out, and Kanye is currently around here guaranteeing that Hollywood controllers are purportedly pulling a few obscure maneuvers to quiet Wendy and power prescription on her, against her Wendy. Recollect how Kanye uncovered his previous fitness coach, Harley Pastoric, blaming him for being a controller connected to the knowledge offices, so Harley minister, Scratch straightforwardly undermined Kanye. That he would organize him and send him back to Zombieland. I actually can't move past how no one in the media examined how totally crazy those messages, nevertheless considerably more insane, is that Minister Scratch's vocation was not by any stretch impacted by it. Kanye, then again, well, he neared. I lost everything over a tweet. And it's not simply Kanye who's been discussing these Hollywood controllers. Quite a while back, Dave Chappelle spilled the tea about being compelled into taking enemy of crazy prescriptions that he didn't need, and he in a real sense needed to disappear to Africa to move away from these individuals the entirety time they attempting to persuade me I'm crazy. They were attempting to inspire me to take insane prescription, and afterward we as a whole realize what befell. Poor Brittany Lances and how they totally obliterated her intellectually by constraining her to take high portions of lithium while she was under her conservatorship, and she hasn't been something similar since he took me off my ordinary prescription. I'd been on for a considerable length of time, and lithium is an extremely amazing, and totally unique drug. Contrasted with what I was utilized to, you can go intellectually debilitated on the off chance that you take an excess of. Now this buzz that Wendy Williams is presently essentially being kept locked down by individuals who put her under a monetary guardianship, and word on the roads is that this new narrative that as of late dropped is essential for their technique to persuade the public that Wendy is temperamental and needing this gatekeeper. Yet stand by, there's certainly more. You realize how sometime prior Wendy Bankwell's Fargo froze her resources before they had any substantial verification that she was crippled. Well, quick forward several years and unexpectedly Wendy's determined to have dementia. Well, listen, I'm no trick scholar except for the fact that it's basically impossible that every one of these celebs unexpectedly went off the deep end the second they began uncovering all the obscure stuff in media outlets and making a ton of cash. Yet this breezy narrative simply still doesn't agree with most fans. It genuinely feels like someone was pulling every one of the stops to cause us to accept Wendy's totally insane, so nobody would scrutinize the monetary conservatorship they slapped on her without her assent. Yet what does Kanye have to do with everything going on? And truly, what is this entire arrangement that is continuing between Hollywood overseers jumping out left and right and treating these celebs like they're mannequins? Well, there's most certainly a ton to unload here, so we should get into it. Something that individuals do now is attempt to victimize my brain and my contemplations. So I'm certain you found out about the new sad improvements encompassing Wendy Williams. Only a couple of days after her Lifetime narrative named "Where is Wendy Williams" broadcasted on February 24, the shocking news broke that Wendy has been determined to have aphasia and front-facing transient dementia. Currently, we should wait to see what these conclusions really mean. ASIA is a problem that influences discourse composition and language understanding concerning front-facing dementia. It's a similar sickness. Bruce Willis was determined to have fundamentally a cerebrum illness that creates issues with conduct and language. Unfortunately, there is no fix or therapy, and those determined to have this kind of dementia expect non-stop consideration for their day-to-day work. Now we realize Wendy has been very sincere about her well-being battles throughout the long term, managing Graves' infection as well as her fight with liquor and substance use. Anyway, Wendy's fans are causing a commotion over the timing and conditions encompassing her dementia determination. It's turning into an idea since it matched with her Bankwell's Fargo proclaiming her as a crippled individual and freezing her resources, and they did this 2 years prior. She was authoritatively analyzed very much. We should give you some setting first. So Wendy's experienced a lot of individual and well-being stuff throughout the long term, and she's never been timid about her fights with substances. Back in 2019, she dropped a bomb on her television show, spilling the subtleties that she'd been remaining in a level-headed house briefly presently, and fans were showing significant love for her, keeping it genuine in her battles, and pushing people to look for help on the off chance that they required it a few times now and even today and past. I have been residing in a level-headed house when you see me come to work glammed up just after the show. I go across the road. I do my pilates. I let you know 2 hours per day I like to deal with my body. And you realize I've had a battle with cocaine before, and I never went to a spot to seek treatment. I don't have any idea how, with the exception of God, I was perched on my shoulder and I just halted our tracker. The establishment just closed last week. We have currently effectively positioned 56 individuals in recovery based on the world, not simply the nation. It's a 24-hour hotline. 7 days, call 888-500 anyway. Just a brief time after she let everybody in on her clear-headed house circumstance, the news hit that she had a backslide and must be taken to the emergency clinic. So even in those days, there were a ton of hypotheses that Wendy took a tumble off the cart since she got wind that her now ex Kevin was playing foul and undermining her. However, at that point, Wendy confessed all and uncovered that she'd been in the know about Kevin's undertaking for quite a long time. Anyway, what truly lost her the profound end and made her drop the legal documents was figuring out that Kevin proceeded to father an entire kid with his side piece. Shirina, you better believe it. You realize unfaithfulness is one thing, a full child is an entire other point. Okay, no doubt. I mean, you said in the New York Times Magazine that I'm an exceptionally sympathetic individual. However, there's one thing I would never be a piece of. And that one thing happened, ma'am, well, and that was all there was to it. Definitely, the child did it. Spoils I need to be spoiled leave, yet Kevin's dauntlessness didn't end there. He had likewise had the nerve to utilize Wendy's money stream to banker Sheena's different fade organizations. And to get this, he felt free to purchase a house in New Jersey for his escort, only a couple of miles from the spot that he was offering to Wendy. Barbie, you realize he was deceiving up cash. She's in the front seat of my Rolls-Royce Ferrari, and you realize, extremely. And our child's in Miami, so I must be quiet on the telephone with him. You know, like a cherishing mother, I must be blissful on the television each day live from New Music York. And I read about it in the web journals and the tables about the location of this spot that he had bought to share with this Woodlands, 9 miles from my home in Livingston, and there, residing the features now while Wendy was doing her recovery stint. Kevin improperly attempted to turn the tables and play casualty cards. He even had the goad to give his fancy woman props for the outcome of the Wendy Williams show. This is mother. You know everyone's going to have his inquiries, and I won't harp on that. You realize she is getting the assistance that she really wants, and ideally you realize she'll emerge from this as a pleasure seeker? I realize she got it in her to the extent that my close family realizes I was unable to do it without the charitable assistance of my sovereign. That is addressing me now, Shirina. Hudson and the family I have. Everyone's family. We should be clear. Everyone's family, and I understand that I need to swing the sword for my entire family since there are many individuals that are attempting to take advantage of what I have worked alongside my family. No one, and I mean no one, will truly bring the energy, magnetism, enthusiasm, skill, ability, or whatever else you need to call it. Like you saw Kelvin Tracker and my ex Wendy Williams and the group that was behind us, and I mean the entire group that incorporates my ongoing woman now since it takes a town, and I'm going to say it better believe it. I said it yet right when we were trusting Wendy would get a make it known broke that Wendy's bank Wells Fargo froze every one of her records and was attempting to pressure her into a monetary conservatorship by guaranteeing she's a crippled individual who can't deal with her own cash yet pay. Attention to this, the bank took everything to the New York High Court requesting that the appointed authority relegate Wendy, a transitory monetary gatekeeper, to monitor Wendy's income anyway. Wendy and her lap. Full group terminated back, pointing fingers at Wendy's previous monetary guide. Lori Schiller, they guaranteed that Lord took care of Wells Fargo with a line about Wendy being debilitated. And purportedly this occurred after Wendy terminated Lori for proficient offense. Yet Wendy's legal counselor came swinging with the countermove and mentioned an impermanent limiting request against Wells Fargo, contending that they were unlawfully meddling in Wendy's monetary matters and keeping her from getting to her fiscal summaries anyway. The court referred to Wells Fargo in December 2022. The child detailed that lawyer Sabrina Morrissey had been named as Wendy's monetary gatekeeper. Yet let us not disregard the way that Wendy freely got down on Lori Schiller and Wells Fargo when this went down. Blazing Day concocted an entire connivance to put her under guardianship, and you'll hear in a moment that Wendy wasn't sounding debilitated by any stretch of the imagination, and she gave no indications of any discourse issues. She was in reality checking out, spreading it out serenely, and making sense of how the people in her own group purportedly tricked her. I started posing inquiries about my cash unexpectedly. Lori Schiller has no reaction in regards to my cash. Subscribe Apple World for more videos.